If restrictive diets haven't helped your gut, then food isn't your problem. People think stress, food or traumas cause IBS, and today we are kind of gonna look at each of these and I help you to figure out the right treatment specifically for you. So I truly want to help you cure this disease once and for all. No BS advice. Now, I'm not a medical doctor and everything I say here is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Around 2 years ago, I found myself in this situation where I was very sick and I had all these digestive issues. And I remember a very specific time where I would literally be lying on my bed and I again had all these cramps in my digestive system and I would literally kind of start massaging all these areas. And every single day I had so much bloating. I would try everything with my diet. I was super strict. I tried fasting and I spent countless hours researching to finally find the root cause. I got very obsessed with this topic, went deep into the science, read all sorts of studies about this thing because I really wanted to fix this for me but also for my mother, and I believed it was possible. But I kind of feel like most doctors don't even take this problem serious enough, so you have to look for the answers yourself. Now, after a really long time, I found little-known experts that again took me a long time to really understand them, and in the end, I paid one of them a lot of money, and basically he explained the problem that I truly had. And by the way, I'm sharing exactly what he told me there in a free masterclass that you can join via the link in the video description. And then very shortly after applying all those things, I was able to basically get rid of my IBS entirely. So I had no digestive issues anymore. Even if I sometimes did things kind of wrong with my diet, I had no bloating, and honestly, I could just go back to living my life normally because I wouldn't spend so much time every single day researching on this topic. Now, what I'm going to do in this video is help you figure out specifically what is causing your IBS, so kind of what type of IBS you have. Now, I'm not talking about IBS-C or IBS-D, I'm talking about something completely different. Because to me, there are kind of like certain things, certain root causes for your IBS, and they kind of need to be differentiated because every case out there is different, and of course that kind of applies for you as well. Now, as you might know, IBS is one of the most common chronic digestive issues, and honestly, when you try to look it up what exactly it is, I feel like it's kind of hard because there's basically no inflammation and you can just kind of see some symptoms, but some people have it really bad, other people don't have it, and you kind of sometimes realize that there's a lot of overlap between certain things, especially when you look at things like SIBO. Now, common symptoms that most people experience are cramps, constipation, bloating, and diarrhea. And you can also have a mix of these. Of course, you don't need to have all of these symptoms. Now, just for explanation, what's the root problem here? The root problem usually comes down to something with your nerves, or basically a very specific action that is happening when you are digesting food. Now, just very simple, when you're eating food, it gets into your stomach and then at some point it gets into your intestines, which are those long tubes. And if you imagine like my arm is one of those tubes now where the food would be passing through, then this food kind of needs to move through. So it's not just like it's going down like this, it's not just like one tube that goes down, but those tubes are actually all over the place, and your body needs to make sure that the food is actually passing through those tubes. And so it has this, I call it pumping action. And basically what's happening is it contracts and releases certain muscles. Now, those muscles are not like your biceps, which you can actively control. So of course you can flex your abs, but those are not the muscles around your intestines. So you have those, they're called smooth muscles around your intestines, and they basically contract and relax. And this is kind of how the food is being pushed through. It kind of looks like, if this is again your intestine, then it kind of looks like it's contracting here, and this contraction kind of goes like this, and that's kind of how the food is being pushed through your intestines. And so when you have IBS, you usually have some kind of problem that this thing, it's just either, sort of cramping at one point, or, it's not really doing anything, the food is stuck. There could be all kinds of problems. Maybe it's, there's like a nervous system dysfunction. We are going to get into the real things in a minute. But basically there's usually some kind of problem with this, like moving the food through. Now, what is IBS really caused by? To me, there are sort of three options that we have here. Number one would be a problem primarily with your digestive system. Number two would be a problem primarily with your nervous system. And number three would basically be a mix of both of these. Hey, before I move on, I would really love to know what your main problem currently is that you're facing trying to fix IBS. So it could be just a lack of good information, too much information, you don't know what's right, things are just not working. Could be a really simple thing, and write that down in the comments. And also, this is not something for me, this is actually something for you, because then I can tailor my content more towards the problems that you are actually having. And also you can add certain things in there. So you could, for example, just add a question in there that you have about IBS, and then my content will be more tailored to that. Now let's first cover the nervous system part. Basically, what are your nerves fundamentally there for? Well, basically when you flex your biceps, first it happens in your brain, and then the signal via your nerves is being sent down to your biceps for it to be flexed. Now, with your intestines, again, this is not actively happening, but it's happening via the parasympathetic nervous system. It's happening automatically. You should not really, have to think about that. And a very interesting point here is that this is being controlled usually by the subconscious mind. So this is the nervous system influence, but you could also just have a problem with the nervous system in general. For example, you could have nerves misfiring, which could be due to, for example, electrolyte imbalances. It could be due to a heavy metal toxicity. Honestly, there are really a bunch of factors that come into this. But this would be sort of a nervous system problem then primarily. This could also just come from neurological problems. This could be, caused by a lot of stress, and this could also be caused by a lot of traumas. One thing that's, by the way, kind of interesting is that IBS is 2 times more common in women than it is in men. And I think I at least have, in my opinion, a very good theory. And it again comes down to the one thing I'm sharing in the free masterclass. The other possibility is that you just primarily have a problem with your digestive system. And it's interesting to note that 70% of IBS patients actually have SIBO. That stands for a mouthful of words. It's called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Basically just means in your digestive tract, there are some kind of like small microbes that are supposed to be there, but there are just way too many. They're far up, in your intestines. They're not supposed to be there in those massive numbers, and they actually start to consume your own food, your own nutrients, and they create all sorts of gas and just in general, digestive issues. Now, when hearing this, 70% of IBS patients also have SIBO. Is then, don't they just have SIBO? Is it really that they also have IBS? Well, again, that's where we kind of come back to the topic. What is IBS fundamentally? There's not a perfect explanation of this. If you ask me, I would kind of say it's really just a SIBO problem in many cases, but again, it's a definition thing. And in any case, I'm going to show you exactly how, the approach that you should be taking to fix this anyways. Now, what could these digestive system problems come from? It's again a long list. It could be nutrient toxicities from taking supplements. So maybe you're currently taking a lot of zinc or something. Maybe it's just caused by that. It could come, from food sensitivities. So basically problems with your immune system. Gut microbiome imbalances, which could come from a bunch of things again. Problems with your liver, pancreas, or other organs involved in your digestion. Now, how can you fundamentally figure out what type specifically you have? Let's first talk about the nervous system part. So basically, if you're having a nervous system problem, then usually you will notice that, of course, when you're having a ton of stress, let's say at your work, or maybe your mothers could have that, they have a lot of stress, and you can feel immediately how this is kind of creating a change in your digestion, therefore. However, let's also cover the other part, which is the digestion-only path. And see, the interesting thing is, I think many people sort of misdiagnose themselves into thinking that their stress is causing their digestive issues. And I can exactly say why that is. So back then, when I had these problems, I would always notice that sometimes if I would eat something that I would not 100% tolerate, which wasn't, perfect food, I would always notice that 30 minutes to an hour after that, my mood would significantly drop. And there was like a big effect on my nervous system. And there's a brain-gut connection via your vagus nerve. So if something is wrong in your gut, you will feel it in your brain. Usually people always think, oh, if I'm stressed and that goes down my digestion. For me, that was never the case. See, I got stressed because of the food, but I know it's not like this immediate effect. It's not like you eat the food and immediately you get stressed, because there's first of all a delay, and you always kind of feel like it's something else. But if you really ask yourself, the last time you had this bunch of stress, did you really have that much stress in the moment? Because that's also, you can have a really stressful situation, not be stressed, if, for example, your gut is very calm, and in general, you're super calm. Or you could be in a very normal situation, maybe just like right now, listening to a video, sitting on your ass, but you're getting really stressed. I've had that before as well. But you need to figure out what this is fundamentally caused by. So if it's caused by food, then you will always notice, like 30 minutes to an hour later, you will get stressed. But you will not immediately get that thought. So you will get that thought like, why am I suddenly so stressed? Why am I suddenly having this bad mood? And what you need to do is think back and like, did I just eat something 30 minutes to an hour before that could have caused that? And in many cases you will see, wow, yeah, I actually did. And so, in any case, I feel like it's often a mix of these two. For me, it was really primarily a digestive system problem, because even if I would get stressed, it wouldn't have any effect on my digestive system. Let's be honest. For me, it wasn't a thing. That doesn't mean that it's not a thing for you. I know that there are people out there that really just get stressed and it goes into their digestion. I know that. Sometimes people have like traumas and they meet certain people that trigger them again and they get cramps in their digestive tract. I know that exists. If you primarily have a nervous system dysfunction, then I highly recommend that you start meditating. And I know in the beginning it's super hard, but you just get some guide on YouTube for like 5 minutes, start really slow. If you're not good at it, completely fine. Everyone gets better with time. But I want to be very specific here, because if you suspect that there is like a trauma thing going on, meditation is just not going to be enough. And many people go on the self-help journey, which is great, but they kind of like just get stuck and like, yeah, I need to do it for longer and just again and again. As like there's no difference. So if it's really something like with trauma, you need to do more than meditation. So something like hypnosis and actually good affirmations, and you usually need help from someone who has done that before. By the way, I've done those things, although again, that wasn't really my problem. But one of the main things that we actually do when you get into our program is we do certain hypnosis sessions with you. So that is something that I highly recommend for this issue. And if it's primarily a digestive system issue where food is usually involved, then first of all, figure out your trigger foods. This can sometimes be hard. You probably need to get on a strict diet for that. It just takes some time, but at some point you know it. Avoid those trigger foods and just kind of find out like what the root cause of those things are. And please, very important here, don't fall for those keto, carnivore, vegan, BS things on YouTube going on now. Those are all just diet trends. They change all the time. There's nothing super special with those diets. I know that they sometimes or often get rid of these digestive issues. Sure, but they, I'm not even gonna say so much, but have you ever asked yourself why people suddenly need to go on all these crazy diets when we were literally fine eating carbohydrates all the time since like a few hundred years or even longer? Because there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is this one thing that I found out that you can check out in the free masterclass. There's a link in the video description. I paid for a consultation, 600 euros for 30 minutes to get this information. You can get it for free and just sign up today. Basically get that. And this is not a supplement or any stupid thing. It's actually so powerful that I literally can't share it on this platform here. So that's going to be it for this video. I really hope that this helps you on your healing journey and that you could kind of understand where you are and where your main problem is. And always remember, your dreams can come true when you allow yourself to believe and try. You can make it.